Hey, welcome. This is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is my weekly SNAP report. We're getting into that part of the season where there's going to be a long string of data, but for me, I like to focus on kind of the landscape view of teams and what they're doing, as well as changes in players' activity over recent weeks, because there's still going to be a lot of changes that are going to occur between now and our playoffs. Players coming back from injury, there'll be more injuries, COVID. So it's a very dynamic situation, and you've got to stay ahead of the game as much as possible. Uh, if you haven't heard it, myself and D Mike do our Science of Fantasy podcast. The link is at Fake Pigskin. I do my matchup articles. Dennis does his weekly value articles. I think all those are essential to try to make you a little more nimble for week 8 and beyond. So you need to get ready. And now's the time. This is what's going to separate next few weeks from those who are contenders and those who are not. All your weaknesses in your teams will be exposed here during these bye weeks. So it's just best to try to patch and fill what you can, but you've got to stay awake and on top of this. Now is not the time to fall asleep or, well, I'm 5-2, so I don't have to worry about anything. You can three losses and you're 5-5, right? Four losses and you're, six, 5-6, and you may be out of the playoffs. So this is very critical right now, and you cannot walk away from your job here. Okay, you've got to keep the axe sharp, and you get ready to chop the wood every week. This is the grind. Welcome to it. If you're interested in winning, that's what you've got to do. Okay, let's move. This is snaps. Snaps give us interesting view of the team and the usages of players and how teams distribute their activities and whatnot. Gives you an insight. You can see if changes are occurring or not, what's going on. Like I said, a lot of the trends may be already set in a lot of ways, but you've still got to pay attention and confirm what you think you know. So let's move on. This is average of team snaps from weeks 1 to 7. Okay, and I got the average there, and then I scaled it to the league average snaps. I think it's around 66. And so you can see in this column the levels that teams are above average or below average. So Dallas is 8 times better than league average in snapping. So they're really putting the snaps out. Seattle is at the bottom, way at the bottom, and losing Russell Wilson, big effect here. Some teams in here are winning and some teams in here are losing. So this is not a final predictor by any means, but it is something to pay attention to and how teams distribute snaps and whatnot. It's good to see that. And again, I use colorization to quickly mark teams that are the highest in green and the lowest in red. So just kind of set your thinking to considering what the teams are doing or not doing. And again, there may be some aspects of a defense and maybe even the schedule that they've had up to this point affecting this actual data here. So just kind of keep that in mind. I do like to look at this data and consider what's going on And I really like the extremes. I think are more informative than kind of near the average, right? I mean, if you're near the average, you're near the average. But the extremes catch my attention, and they should catch yours. Here is the scaled team average team snaps, and again, here's Dallas. If you think about that to league average, it would be up here, and you see Seattle would be down here. So the range here is uh, very high between the high and the low here. And like I said, a lot of these teams right in here are average. It's these extremes that catch my interest. We can speculate what's going on at those teams. I urge you to, ask questions for yourself. Why is Dallas, Minnesota, Tennessee, why are they here? Buffalo, KC, Tampa Bay, why is Seattle so bad in snaps? New Orleans, who's been winning pretty good, 4-2, yet they're almost at the bottom. So what does that mean? And here's Tampa Bay, one of the best in the league. And Arizona, check out Arizona is certainly above average, and here they are. So it's not like the best team has the most snaps. There's just a trend and tendency, and I think there's some, it's an indicator of team speed and movement and distribution based on the players and the schedule so far. So another aspect of snaps is the rate of snaps. And a lot of people, a lot of pundits won't do that, but I consider the time of possession and generate snaps per second. Okay. So what you see here, weeks 1 to 7, is snaps per second. So now not only do you include, kind of the snap amounts, but now you got the rate of snapping. And there's some interesting teams at the highs and the lows as well. Here is the mapped out. Detroit is number 1 in snaps per second. So they're really churning it out. Philadelphia. The Rams are up here. Jacksonville, the Chargers, Dallas, Atlanta, Seattle. Snaps per second. New Orleans is dead last in snaps per second. Baltimore, Green Bay, Miami, Cleveland. So look at some of these teams, and I think the amount of passing and rushing is probably going to be different between these groups of teams here. So I think this is an indicator of speed, and of course, if you've got a good defense, then you may try to slow the game down, and so you would run fewer snaps per second. So I think there's some kind of aspects of what a team is, what they're doing, their game plans is embedded in their snap per second rates here, and so I give you that. And I look at the last 3 weeks versus the preceding 3 weeks. So we're talking 5 to 7 as compared to 2 to 4. And for instance, Detroit has sped up, but the Rams have slowed down. Tampa Bay has slowed down. Raiders have slowed down. Carolina has sped up. The Chargers and Dallas have sped up as well. So there are changes in team behaviors, and so is that helping the team? Is that helping the players, or is that not helping, right? So when you're looking at not only points on the board, but, fantasy points from our point of view, see what's going on. I think, again, the passing versus the rushing biases are different depending on what teams are doing recently here. So this difference catches any of the dramatic metrics and changes in the team. It could be key players are injured and that kind of thing. So it's good to kind of keep this as a reference. And this article stays up the whole season, so you can go back and look at my snaps report and snaps per second. I definitely carry and present this so you can kind of follow week by week if you wanted to and have that data for you to do. I would urge you to get deep into that. This is average. My figure, it looks like I moved up a little bit, but my average player snaps per second is in blue. So this is the high and the low. So the faster teams and the slower teams, and then the differences here, and those are the green things, and the pink area here, the pink dashed lines represent the pretty much the league average and around the league average. So this is more where I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at teams above and below here. So above, there have sped up recently, and teams that have declined recently in speed. So, and then I mark those by the green stars for speeding up and the red stars for slowing down here. So if you look at the Rams have done pretty good, but Seattle hasn't done good. Tampa Bay's doing well. Pittsburgh's been, New England, Raiders, Tennessee's been doing good lately. They've been slowing down. Green Bay and Baltimore. So I think those are probably lots of rushing going on. Detroit, Dallas, whatnot, they're maybe more passing because they're speeding up here. And Arizona's the only undefeated team. They're in the average zone. So they may be more balanced and not skewed one way or the other, which might be something to consider as well. So looking at that, thinking about what players have done recently on what teams, how things have changed in the last couple of weeks, it's certainly get your notebook here and make some quick notes here. I would put my green star teams and my red star and have them on a piece of paper and just kind of look and consider the speeding and the slowing up of teams and their activities here. And if you sort now, instead of the snap rate, but you sort by differences, you're seeing which teams have sped up the most, and they're shown here. And I left the colorization of the snap speed. So Carolina, one of the worst beforehand on snap speed, has actually been improving lately. The Chargers have improved, Kansas City, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, all moving up even more, whereas other teams are declining in their speeds as well. So you can take a look at that. And this article should be out on Fake Pigskin for you to check out. So here is the team, the position now, the speed of the position over the last 7 weeks, weeks 1 through 7, the actual average of that position, snap speed. And then if you use snap speed as a surrogate for usage, I considered that and made something called snap usage there, and that's over here. So if you look at patterns, to me, patterns are saying and telling me about trends. I know, for instance, Arizona has Zach Ertz, and again, they have been using the tight end not very strong in snaps, so maybe that changes. So that's something I'm expecting things to change, but it hasn't so far. They've been all about the wide receivers here. Okay, so I'm looking for at least 40% or better in a good team that's passing a lot, and Arizona's doing that. And that's way different than Atlanta, which is putting all its eggs in the tight end basket. I don't think that's a pattern that leads to long-term success. So that concerns me. And Baltimore and the tight ends, you would think with Andrews that this would be higher, but it's really hasn't been. And here's Buffalo showing it's a little bit lower, 37%. I wish it was higher. And so some of the patterns I like is what I call the U-shaped pattern that you see here. And here's another U-shaped pattern. This is the opposite of the U-shape, and that worries me. And Baltimore is not optimized by its pattern of usage as well. So I'm liking Arizona and Buffalo, but it's pretty obvious. But so are they doing well because they can have the right kind of pattern and balance? I think there's some secrets there somewhere. Here's Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. And I think you can take a look at that. I do like Carolina, Chicago, really nice on the passing. You would think that they would have done more, but they're clearly snapping or giving their wide receivers snaps. It's not turning into points. So just because a team can seems to have, like for instance, 45% Chicago, doesn't mean that they're taking care of business as far as scoring. You've got to score as well, so that is a little bit concerning when you do see that. It just tells me it's inefficient, because 45%, you should have a lot of players doing pretty good in PPR. Cincinnati's declined, and they've actually been using their tight ends more than people think. And that pattern right there hasn't changed since about 2-3 weeks in. So based on that, I acquired C.J. Uzomah as my tight end 2 in a lot of my leagues because of that usage right there. And Njoku and Hooper are potential waiver wire because the way the teams are using them in snaps. So just be aware of that. And here's the U pattern. And I don't like Chicago, and I don't like Cincinnati and Cleveland. This is the only one that intrigues me. I know Carolina's struggling, but I think the way they're trying to use their team is a good pattern. Here's Dallas, Denver, Detroit, and Green Bay. You would think Green Bay would be higher, and they're they're not. Detroit there's using Hawkinson at 36. I mean, that's good if you got him. But the wide receivers are underutilized at 32%. Denver needs to do more with its wide receivers, and it's not. And Noah Fant at 32%. I would have liked closer to 36. Dallas is showing another kind of pattern, what I call a diagonal pattern, which a lot of the eggs are in the wide receiver basket, and I'll show you what that looks like. I call it diagonal. Denver has that. This is not a good pattern. Not really happy with Green Bay. I know they're doing well, but just not sure they're distributing their snaps like they need to. Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Kansas City. I do like Houston. They got a diagonal, so they've got a good pattern. If Taylor can come back, they may surprise in the second half. I do like Indianapolis. Jacksonville is a little low on the wide receivers, but I think their pattern is okay. Kansas City, I think, also is doing pretty good on their pattern. If I remember right, I think all these teams. Here's kind of a diagonal, kind of a diagonal, diagonal, and then here's the U shape. So those are positive patterns on how they're distributing their snaps. Chargers, the Rams, the Raiders, and Miami. Again, looking at the wide receivers, the Rams are underutilizing their wide receivers. I think they're overplaying their tight ends here, folks. And the Raiders certainly are. Look at that. You can tell Waller's there. And 36, 37, Miami's doing a lot with Gesicki. I understand that, but I think they need to get a little bit more balanced here. I do like the Chargers pattern. The Rams, I would like to see the wide receivers higher. This is not a good pattern, Raiders. This is a weak diagonal pattern, just like the Rams are. Minnesota looks nice on what I see. New England's in trouble, and it's all about the tight end, and that's never a good sign. The Saints actually kind of have a diagonal pattern. They just need a stronger wide receiver to take them over the top. And the Giants, I've been hoping Ingram could flourish. They, as I see, 39%. That's a great number. That's one of the best numbers for team tight end snaps. I mean, New England's probably the highest, but not bad. Yet we haven't seen him really catch fire there. I do like Minnesota. Get the tight end a little more here, and you'd have a nice pattern. New England's not good. A weak diagonal, and Giants are in trouble as well. The Jets, 40%'s not bad. They're doing pretty good with what they have. Philadelphia, it could be better on their distribution there. And Pittsburgh looks like that's a nice pattern. 43% is good. Seattle it's not, their running backs, they're 17%. That's weak sauce, and they've got big issues. Not only they down a quarterback, but they're not using their running backs well, and that's not good. So you end up kind of a weak diagonal, weak diagonal, weak. And then this is a weird pattern. I'm not liking that pattern. San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Tennessee, Washington. San Francisco's not using their wide receivers much. Almost too balanced. Look, it's almost everybody's the same. I don't know how you're going to go deep in the playoffs, that kind of distribution. Tampa Bay's got the nice diagonal pattern here. I do like that. Tennessee's a little bit low on its wide receivers. They could up that, knock this down a little bit, and you would think their running backs would be higher, but that's not the case. And Washington's in trouble as well, kind of like Seattle. Here's Washington, a lot like Seattle. Tennessee's not, if they were up in here, then you might have something. Tampa Bay has the pattern. San Francisco's trying to, but it's just underwhelming how this is all settling out there. So I not only use the numbers and make predictions about, pickups and drop ads and these kind of things, but I think the patterns and just the big picture gives you a big insight into the players, let's call it offensive capacity there. And so I'll probably need to get more into that detail here. Need to go back some years and get that going. I will. So here are the position snap used. So I'll just handy dandy for you. to see the table, snap usage, Buffalo highest, Seattle. Look at that. Seattle's in a world of hurt. New England, Cleveland, Houston, Chargers with Eckler, and they're still Kansas City. Tampa Bay probably can get away with it because they're balancing with the other, but not good, not good. And you can see the top teams in red there that's using their running back. Notice Philadelphia is the last one that's high. That's why this week people were running to Boston Scott and Gainwell, because Philadelphia, is in the highest part, part of the league that's using their running backs a lot. So there's probably more bang for your buck there. If something happens, say to any of them, like Chuba Hubbard at Carolina, or if Aaron Jones goes down, the San Francisco, maybe Mitchell is settling that. Baltimore's still in flux. That's why it gets everybody's attention. But if you have too many mouths to feed, that kind of dilutes it. Denver's in that boat because they got a committee. Detroit is all about Swift, Robinson, and Buffalo is kind of Singletary and Moss. That's kind of hurting as well. To me, Jacksonville is pretty much, and Detroit are doing what they should be doing, and their distribution is showing that. Some of these other ones, the committee structure is kind of ruining from the fantasy. I understand from the team point of view. And then I did a bar graph, and you can see the highs and the low teams for reference as well. Tight ends, New England, number 1. Seattle, they snapped their tight ends, but I'm wondering if the tight ends are having to pass protect and are not really pass catching, because they haven't been doing too good. Cleveland and Cincinnati, right there, folks. So you definitely want, and I still have hopes for Ingram right there. Here's Pitts, here's Waller, okay? Look at KC. You've got Kelsey, the best tight end, and you're average. KC is not doing what they need to do, if I see that. Here's the bottom of the barrels here, folks, in tight end usage. So, watch to see any changes. But, maybe the teams are trying to address that. Andrews, 31. Come on. Baltimore. Here is Chicago, 45%. And look at the points that are not scored. Look at Arizona with the points that are scored. Same percent, completely different results. Minnesota's doing well. Pittsburgh. Cooks with Houston is really doing well. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Tyreek Hill. Indianapolis has had a platoon coming in and out. Maybe Hilton can stabilize that. Carolina, DJ Moore. Seattle, Metcalf, Lockett. So some of this makes sense. Detroit's having issues. Carolina's got Ridley, and that's it. And that shows. Cincinnati got some great wide receivers. They're not being used. Washington has McLaurin, and that's it. San Francisco has Debo. That's it. Raiders. Who is the dog at Denver's had Judy in, out, injury. Sutton, he's back. Kupp and Woods. Maybe they're not getting enough play still. The Rams may be doing too much rushing. Seems to me an opportunity here. Adams here at 36. To me, these teams are underutilizing their wide receiver that they have. So I'm looking to see if they will improve. I think there are opportunities up here to go a little deeper on some of the crew, and certainly any kind of injury like wide receiver threes that could take over if there was an injury there. So just be aware in kind of the dollar for the holler kind of waiver wire pick that you might be able to pick a deep play. I know Washington I have on leagues for $1. I know he hasn't, done well, but imagine if Claypool or Deontay gets hurt, then he's number 2. So you've got to kind of be prepared for those situations here. So now I go to the player level and we go, each slide is the team. And I just look at the snap rate and the scoring rate for you to look and compare to see. A lot of this is pretty straightforward. And we kind of know a lot of what information is being told to us here. Edmonds is cranking it out, but Connor is scoring more points. Okay, this is PPR points per snap right here, average scoring level. And I put it on a scale of 0 to 100. So if you have 100, that's about the best that you can have for that week. Ertz is so high because he's only had 1 week, and he did great. So Arizona's doing well, but look at the scoring. It's like everybody's taking a bite of the cake. So that kind of muddies the water here, and that's why people have had issues trying to pick. Does Kurt go off this week? What about Green? I mean, yeah, I agree. Hopkins is an always play. It's just picking, out of these that can make you crazy. It's all about Patterson. Look at that, 81. Davis, 26. Hey, he's getting more snaps per second over the last 7 weeks, but he's not bringing home the bacon. Pitts is really picking it up, but Hurst is getting same amount or pretty close and not bringing the points home. And Patterson is the wide receiver, is doing well, and of course Ridley. But notice Gage is, so Ridley's getting a lot of attention, but Gage is putting as much points up as him. So, and Gage has been hurt, so that's bad. That's not a positive sign here. Baltimore, they don't know what they're doing with their running backs. Look at all this, spreading the wealth. It's all about Andrews. We know that. Hollywood Brown. Bateman's picking up, folks. Trouble is, everybody knows that. So Watkins looks like he commands a lot of the attention snap-wise, but he's not bringing home the scores. So he's under being used. So does that mean he goes up, or is he somebody to invest or get rid of? There's your decision right there. Moss is scoring more, but they're almost dead even. So, to break a tie, I guess I'd go Moss. Knox and Sweeney. Sweeney's probably the handcuff to Knox in case Knox doesn't play this week. Sweeney's a good pick. Sanders, Diggs, and Beasley are all about the same level here. So that is adding complexity to that in Buffalo. Carolina, McCaffrey, hurt as he been, is still bringing more scores home than Hubbard, but Hubbard's not doing bad. The best tight end left, Dan Arnold. DJ Moore, he's getting the snaps and the score. Robbie Anderson's getting snaps, not scoring, and that's an issue. So we have snaps. You would think, oh, that's good, but no, not enough scoring. That's bad. So Anderson is somebody that definitely is a gamble each week. He's inconsistent, shall we say. And I think this data catches that. Uh, Herbert has not caught up with the scoring yet. He's been getting a lot of attention. Montgomery should be the the league dog when he comes back. So people are discussing that. I think Montgomery comes back. Kemet has been getting tons of snaps. He's not bringing home the scores. Mooney, Robinson, lots of snaps, not a lot of scoring. Not good. Chicago's a tire fire here. Mixon doing well, doing well. Sometimes you have somebody like Evans that get many snaps, but he's pretty efficient, so you can't let that fool you. You know, you got to, that's why I'm looking at both. You got to have a lot of this and a lot of this to really get my attention. So Uzama's doing good, folks. Chase, 67, that's great. Boyd and Higgins, ho-hum compared to Chase. But it's still, you know, it's hard to predict if I had Boyd or Chase, which one to play. I'm sorry, Boyd or Higgins. Definitely Chase. Chubb and Hunt. Dearness is starting to move up, but if Chubb is back, then he's back. He'll have a role, but it won't be like Hunt's role. Hooper and Njoku had that 2.2 score game, so that kind of muddied the water a little bit, but they're both highly snapped. Landry, low snap, but scoring, so he's definitely, I continue to watch him move up. I am definitely continue to be interested. This guy has been inconsistent, needless to say. Ezekiel and Pollard. Pollard, everybody's talking Pollard. The reason they're talking is not his snap rate, it's his scoring rate. So like I said, I would rather have this versus this. To me, you can be inconsistent. Schultz, nice. 51 is nice. Nice. It's all good there. Lamb and Cooper, nice. Wilson's coming along, waiting for Gallup. He's got to get some scores for us, but when he was around, he was getting third snaps. Wilson is creeping up and could be a string play. Gordon and Williams. Gordon's more snaps. Williams more scoring points. Fant doing pretty good. Nobody else is close. Sutton, Patrick, and Hinton and Judy best scorer, and then Sutton's number 2. So if Judy can come back, I think he instantly is viable for the 1 or 2 spot. So I don't think he's out there, but anyway, if he were to be out there, you could trade and get him cheap, then I think it's worth a gamble. Swift and Williams. One's getting a lot, one's less, but they're scoring about the same. Hawkinson's doing pretty good. Could do better. Raymond is the top scorer. Cephas is gone, so the next one would be Hodge, but he's not getting the points, so I guess it's Brown, but he's not scoring like Raymond has consistently over 7 weeks. Aaron Jones, but Dillon does get his attention, and look, even Hill. So that's kind of interesting. Tanyan's picking it up recently. Okay. Adams. And then you pick your poison here. This week Adams is out and Lazard's out with COVID. And MVS is trying to come back and Cobb. So it would probably be those two and maybe Rodgers. 3? I don't know. Maybe it's an opportunity for this guy to shine. Rodgers to Rodgers. David Johnson has been scoring, but so is Ingram and Lindsey with no snaps. So that basically muddies the water. The safest of the poorer picks is Johnson. Favor Brown and Atkins getting some snaps, but just not bringing it home. Cooks, great. Collins is, don't overlook Collins. He could move up. And Amendola, if he comes back, everybody forgets he was at a 53 when he left. So that could be your 1, 2, 3. Could be some surprises there. Taylor's great. Mo Ali Cox is getting less snaps, and you wonder, is he not as good as pass protection as Doyle? I don't know, but he's definitely scoring. Look at Hinton. Nice scoring, but he got injured again. Kuti got something on a fluke there, so I think that's probably not to be considered. I think Campbell's out, so it's Pittman is the clear number 1. Hinton could be number 2, and Pascal gets snaps, but he's just not bringing home the scores. Robinson, all about the Arnold. O'Shaughnessy, I think he's hurt and gone. Jones, Chenault, I think are the last men standing here. I did see Agnew as third choice. He did pretty good, and he's scoring as much as these two. So it's just, I think there's more growth to be done with the quarterback, and we may not see full potential this year. Solaire and Williams, they're scoring about the same. This guy, Gore, is probably the handcuff to the handcuff. So, and take a look at that scoring. So, he's a deep dollar play. Kelsey, he could be doing better, folks. Tyreek, Pringle gets limited shots, but he brings home the scoring. And Hardman is probably the number 2 there. Eckler's all about the Eckler's good. It's a you pick 'em on who's the handcuff. Cook's done well. Parham hadn't done too bad. But Cook is the number 1. Williams, scoring number 1, snap rate number 2. I still say Guyton is worth $1 pickup just in case one of these gets hurt. He might move in to a viable role. Don't forget about him. Henderson's all about the Henderson. Higbee could do better. Woods' cup is just overflowing, right? So if you look at that, Van Jefferson is a nice 3, and he's worth a pickup because he's scoring almost as much as Woods. And you might be able to still pick him up cheaply. So he would be somebody I would definitely want to acquire cheap. Jacobs and Drake. It's the 1-2 here. Jacobs is, getting more attention, but Drake is scoring a lot for his less snap rate here. So I think keep Drake in your team. Waller, not bad. Foster took over for him last week, so if Waller can't come back, you should go get Moreau. Hunter Renfrow has been the best scorer, and then Ruggs. And Edwards got lots of the snaps, but he hasn't produced. So I would probably, if I had to take one, it'd probably be Ruggs. Gaskin has really been picking up lately. Don't forget Gaskin. Gesicki's doing nice. Waddle is probably the 1 for me. Parker's probably the 2. I don't know about the 3. Good luck picking. Dalvin Cook, but Madison's had his time, so he's been scoring with less snap rates. Conklin, he's been okay, but 30 is not a strong number. Jefferson's been scoring more. Osborne's been scoring with limited opportunities, so he's worth a pickup as well. And of course, Thielen's, sometimes he gets hot. White is out. Bolden's taking his place, but Stevenson and Taylor were getting. So it's really, I think Harris is the safe play. I'm not sure. Do you pick up Bolden? I don't know. There's too many dollar plays here, so I don't know. If you got a feeling, then I guess go with the feeling. Henry is getting more snaps, but Sanu's been keeping up with him. But I think Henry, maybe he's starting to take hold. We'll see. Kendrick Bourne scoring more with less amount. So Myers is probably the safe pick, but maybe Bourne should be picked up. Yep, definitely, if he's still out there. New Orleans, it's all about the Kamara, and it's clear New Orleans doesn't know who the handcuff is. Troutman, weak sauce here. All this is weak. Harris, best scorer. Callaway is the safest play here. Tawan is. We need Michael Thomas back. That's all I got to say. Barkley and Booker. Booker's been keeping up with Barkley. I would definitely keep Booker after Barkley comes back. I'm hoping Ingram will. Somebody said maybe he gets traded. I don't know. People are looking at him. Teams are looking at him, I hear. So the rumors. I guess they would live with Rudolph then, but he hasn't been doing what he needed to do. Pettis scoring a lot. Tony scoring a lot. That's getting a lot of attention there. And look at Slayton, Ross, look at Shepard. So it is a confusing mix here. People are saying Tony because he's just very dynamic and can score. I can't argue with that. I've picked up Pettis in a few. I don't know about Galladay. You want to think maybe if he gets healthy, it gets better. I just don't know. I don't think I could drop him, but I'm not sure I could acquire him either. Carter and Johnson are kind of splitting the show here. The tight ends have just not been doing it. Corey Davis and Crowder right there. Elijah Moore hasn't been doing it. So these would be the two I would try to get. Boston Scott, a little with, get a lot with a little there. Gainwell's probably the safer one if Sanders is out. But I think Scott will have a role until Sanders is back. Goddard and Ertz. Ertz is gone, so it's the Goddard show. So this probably is going to go up. Devonta Smith seems to be the safest play, but Quez Watkins or Rager, I guess Watkins, just because he scores more. I don't know. Rager's been a disappointment. All about the Harrison in Pittsburgh. Frymouth is coming on. So be aware, you might still be able to get him for a streamer. Dante and Claypool, Schuster's gone. Washington hasn't taken advantage here. So it's still these two. Washington's a dollar play just to keep. Carson, Collins, I guess, but then Homer, Dallas, it gets muddled after Carson's gone. I guess Collins is the safe play, but it's confusing on the scoring. Everett, I think he's gone. Is he? Or is he back? Anyway, if he's back, then that's good. If not, Disley has been disappointing. DK is getting less snaps than Lockett. and he's the safer play than Lockett. Freddie Swain has got attention. Dorsett got a little bit of scoring attention, but I guess it's down to DK and just pick your week for Lockett. He'll deliver. It's just you won't know the week it happens. Mitchell's probably the number one, but there's a lot of other ones out there in the mix, and we still got more to come back. Walsh Dwelly has not been scoring. I mean, he's been scoring as much as Kittle, but you have an opportunity, and he hadn't really run with it. It's all about Samuel, and if somebody said he had a calf strain this week, so good luck picking the other ones. I mean, people would say Ayuk, but Sanu's done just as well. I'd hate to have to pick any of those, really. Sad. Fournette all day. But scoring-wise, the other ones are really far behind, but they get their spots. So Tampa Bay is really efficient at picking the spots where they send somebody to spell Fournette. Gronkowski, if he can come back, is the show there. 71 is one of the highest tight ends. I'm all in there. Godwin and Evans and Antonio Brown has been doing so much with little. And the other two, it's a pick 'em on who's going off that week. So if Brown's out, then I guess Godwin and Evans collect. Tennessee, we all know Henry. I think Evans is his handcuff. I don't think it's Nichols. He's the pass catching guy. So I've been trying. If I have Henry, I'm trying to inquire both of those. We'll see. Not much on the tight end front. The best scorer is A.J. Brown, then Julio. Westbrook has been getting snaps, but just hadn't been doing anything with it. It's as good as Rodgers here and Bateson, so I'm just sticking to these two. Washington, Gibson and McKissick have been doing well, but look, Jarrett Patterson, almost no snaps and still scoring. Ricky Seals has been filling in for Thomas. He's not going to be out there, but if he is, you need to grab him. McLaurin is about it. Samuel, maybe. Cam's, I don't know. Brown and Humphreys have been a scoring disappointment, so they're putting their snaps on players that are not delivering. So I wouldn't invest deeply at all, but I'm sure I'd invest $1 here. Okay, that was my tour of those guys. So if you look at the differences in players, I show you for the running backs, the highs, which would be in blue, and here's the lows. So take a look at who's some of the top players that have been improving recently and see if there are any that seem to make sense for an acquisition. Look at the players that have been declining recently. Should you drop some? A lot of those are injury types. I got that. But there may be some dead weight here that you need to cleanse your limited rosters. If you have a small bench, for sure. I mean, you're not getting rid of Barkley or Montgomery or Carson or CEH, but I'm just saying Sermon can be gotten rid of. Barber probably. Can't get rid of Chubb and Drake, but Malcolm Brown probably. So you need to acquire and trim. So you move this way, you move away from these guys here. Tight ends, Arnold, Seal Jones, Ross Raleigh. Ingram is number 4, so I'm hoping. Some of these I don't know really if they're worth a pickup. But remember, we're just looking at snaps. We're not looking at scoring levels here. And here are some that are of concern. Again, a lot of these are injuries. But some of these are probably not worth our time. Wide receivers, here's the two positive list. Here's, I picked up Agnew this week, or actually last week. Crowder. Hadn't been jumping on him. Pettis, yes. Bateman, yes. Collins, yes. Probably not Ross. Higgins, yeah. Anderson, I guess. Tequan, I'd acquire him, but I'm not sure how long I'm keeping him here. A.J. Brown, of course. So these are some of the players that are improving. Here's the decliners. Some of this is due to injury. Some have not been living up. I mean, I said get Washington, but he's not been doing well. Ridley's been declining, but he's the only game in town. So just consider some of these here. Some of them I probably wouldn't keep. Some I would definitely trim. Some I would hold. So what is it? Buy, sell, or hold? So there's the sells and the holds here, whereas the other ones were the buy and the holds and the other ones here. Okay, that's my video lesson for today. Good luck. Hit it hard. Hopefully you win. Week 8. Woo woo. This is fun. I'm having fun.